Amy was getting a pillow.
I was like this, and that felt
I'm like, is my scarf okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd you get it?
My auntie bought it for me. Look, it has butterflies on it.
That's beautiful.
Wasn't it pretty?
Oh.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. I tagged you.
Thank you. Hopefully my friends see it.
Should we get on our Facebooks and on our phones and be like, hey, we're live?
Well, you know what happened last time.
I know, it was funny.
It did that echo thing.
Mm-hmm. That was hilarious.
And took me forever to figure out.
Look, someone's here, though. Yay. Oh, it's Amanda. Hi.
Hi, neighbor.
I can't wait to see you in a minute.
Oh,
there it goes again.
no.
Share. Right post. Right post. We're sharing. Look, Amy Wolff joined. That's good.
I joined myself. You know, this is something you really should practice.
I think it's kind of fun.
Nope.
I like it.
I'll figure it out later.
Oh my God, I love it.
I don't know what the problem is.
I think it's hilarious.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Hi, Amanda. So happy to see you. You are amazing.
Guys, I think this is the first chat of ours, which we do about 1 month for a while.
Yeah, 1 month.
This is the first one where we really just got finished eating, like mowing down on.
Hi, Olivia.
Oh, there's my cousin from Colorado. We really have no direction. Normally we're like, hey, what topic do you want to talk about?
We talked about a topic.
Well, yes, in very broad. The election just happened.
Yeah. So we talked about that topic. We can talk about the election. I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, I had a really hard time this week. So
exactly.
I'd love to process that.
So I would really like to talk about that. And then we also talked about I
found it.
Oh, yeah, you're sharing.
I am.
Now. Yes. It's awesome. We also talked about that TED Talk that I showed my class with
hold up. Westboro Baptist Church.
Westboro Baptist Church, the daughter of the guy who runs that thing, and how she left the church. And that talk is really fantastic.
Well,
I'm gonna link it. Oh, it's Megan Phelps Roper. I'm gonna link that in the comments because hi Shelly, how are you? How's Texas? I'm gonna link that in the comments because I want to talk about that too because there's some stuff there.
Well, just so you guys know, the TED Talk is that she was engaging, I think, on Twitter back and forth with someone who is Westboro Baptist Church is evil. You guys are all hate, and then she was hating against them, and then someone somehow on the DMs and her actually started having a conversation.
Yep, and they started talking like you and I talk,
and realizing they're human.
Yep,
and real people.
Yes,
with more in common.
Yes,
and it changed everything for her, and she left the church.
But she has these 4 things that she talks about how to engage with people who don't necessarily agree with you. And I have them written down, which is awesome. You
should make them listen. You should go watch the TED Talk first.
Yeah, watch the TED Talk.
What was the number one thing that you liked most about it?
The number one thing that I love about her TED Talk, when Megan Phelps Roper talked about the line between friend and foe becomes blurred when you actually engage in connection and conversation. And there's this really powerful post that one of my mom's friends that she went to high school with posted about living with no regrets. And she talked about how there used to be all this opportunity for dialogue with people. Like her parents were Mormon and Democrats. And so they would have these robust conversations. While she was growing up, that she remembers, like, they would play canasta and sit around with their friends and talk about politics. But it was not this divisive, horrible debate. It was like a conversation about difference and similarity and like all of these things. So what I love about Megan Phelps Roper's talk is that the other thing she says from the religious standpoint is she says, we are not arbiters of divine truth, but flawed human beings. Which I totally loved. I was like, that is amazing. Yeah, and my students were blown away. So
you showed it in class?
Yeah, I showed it in class.
Yeah.
So
you guys should go watch it. It's definitely worth your time. It's in a small venue, I think in New York City a couple years ago. It's a really cool talk to watch.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
So I will post that in the comments. It's good. Because we don't want them to go watch that right now.
No, watch this.
No, watch this. It's good. Tell all your friends you're watching it too. That'll be awesome.
Elections happen, friends.
Yes. And look, you're all twitchy about it even. Her legs
might
going.
be the topic
She's
just
like,
checked
maybe
before we got on.
We drink. Diet Dr. Pepper is my favorite bad thing, and so I drink it when I come to Amy's house.
I feed her bad things. I had a really rough day. during the middle of the elections where I wrote you a message on Facebook.
You did, and my friends saw it, and they were like, wow.
Yeah.
Hi, Aziz.
The message sounded something like this. I'm having a terrible day. I'm exhausted from trying to engage well. I'm exhausted from not trying to be defensive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm exhausted. Oh, I listed a few things. Mm-hmm. And oddly enough, you were like the safe place I ran.
Why is that odd?
Because it is loud liberals who are really bothering me. And I ran to one saying, friend, I'm exhausted of trying to do this well and not get mad.
So tell me about the loud liberals.
Really, probably wasn't really a very loud liberal. It was a quasi-loud liberal.
Okay.
There was a race here in Oregon that was closer, I think, than people anticipated between a Democrat and a Republican for governor.
Oh, the governor's race.
Yeah.
That was fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you have thoughts. So I don't know if I have lots of thoughts on it. Except someone had mentioned that here's the hard part. I don't know this person very well.
Okay.
We connected through almost like a professional setting. So that's kind of weird. Connected on Facebook. And he said, oh my gosh, what if Oregon turns Republican again? And everyone started commenting, oh my gosh, end of the world. Oh my gosh,
End of the world?
Yeah, not really. But I mean, the reaction was, oh,
that would be horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing ever. So feeling like there was a misrepresented, underrepresented voice, which my husband gets he's like, why do you engage? Not every battle's worth fighting. And it's not that for me. It's when someone's in an echo chamber, I am now feeling the angst of that is not real. Mm-hmm. And is there a way that I can engage that is not defensive and not angry, but represents a different voice?
Yeah.
And so I commented, hey, I probably lean more towards the conservative side.
Hi, Liz.
I don't think that the race is going to make the state turn Republican. I don't think that. But if it did, maybe it's a good sign like there's other people in our state that we're not connecting with and that we disagree with. Mm-hmm. And it'd be really interesting to choose to engage those people instead of being woefully worried about your state changing colors.
So you made this like rational argument about.
Yeah, it was not emotionally charged.
That would be very interesting. And
I got no reaction, nothing.
No reaction because you weren't emotional enough.
Is that how you get people to engage?
Yeah, completely freak out and lose your mind.
Okay, but I have to tell you, it taxed me. It emptied me. That's the hours later I sent that message to you.
Yeah.
Because it is hard to not join the fights. Mm-hmm. It is hard to be the reasonable voice in the middle and risk. It felt like a risk because I didn't know this person well, mm-hmm. and there's no context of friendship. But I felt like there was an underrepresented voice, and I could be that in a kind way. And I feel like if I can do that, I should do that. Mm-hmm. And it didn't blow up. Mm-hmm. I would have probably called you if it did instead of a Facebook.
You would have been like, could you get on there, please? I need you. Hi, Keith.
But I was absolutely exhausted. So.
Yeah.
Hi, Liz.
So I think that the thing that's really interesting about that is this idea that, so we've got, everybody's in their echo chamber on Facebook and Twitter and whatever. But what exhausted you was watching this sort of, the rhetoric ratchet up. And would it really be so horrible if more Republicans were represented in the Oregon government? No. No, because, and let me tell you why. Because supermajorities anywhere create problems. So I am like on this mission to bring some sort of equality, not just for women's representation in government and LGBT representation in government and people of color representation
in government. Which, by the way, woohoo!
Yay, go women and people of color.
Great, encouraging part of this week.
Yeah, we'll get to that, but okay. I want to finish this thought. If we had equal representation of political parties, not just Republicans and Democrats, but also, libertarians and other people, we would have more moderated conversation. But I think that's what the people on the far left and the far right don't want to have happen, because then they're not the squeaky wheels getting the grease. Mm-hmm. Then they're not the loudest voices in the room. And then they feel like they're not going to be they're not going to be heard. And so I actually think that there's a purpose to having the super majorities and like to strive for that as states. And it doesn't work. It didn't work in Utah either. It creates this weird sort of echo chamber where you're only listening to people like you and you're not representing the entirety of the population. And that's the problem.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
If you lived in a state with a super majority towards one party, would you purposely choose for a candidate that didn't align with your beliefs just so there was more balance?
It depends on where they fell on certain issues that I'm unrelenting on.
Yes. Okay.
Because I'm unrelenting on LGBT equality and I'm unrelenting on choice. Yeah. And so for those two things, if they weren't, but I have actually found that there are quite a few Republican women that are actually really good on the gay and that are actually pro-choice, ironically. Good on the gay. That's my term. Good on the gay.
I don't think I can use it, but I think you can. And
I can like because I'm a member of the LGBT community. We're going to, I don't know how to get rid of Aziz. We're going to have to block him somehow. All
right. Ignore him.
He smells my armpits.
Me too. Smells lovely.
Thanks.
I've never had a weirdo.
I get him sometimes. I do.
Right.
I'm getting famous on the interwebs.
So here was I want to hear more of your thoughts on the elections, but I had one other angsty moment.
Yes.
When I saw a lot of celebration happening on more gender representation, women representation, which was so cool. And also LGBTQ and Muslims, and it's so cool.
Native Americans.
Yes.
Which I'm so happy about.
And then someone posted, there's a few angsty moments. Someone did a comparison of the new Republican representation and the Democratic. And it's disgusting, the lack of diversity on the conservative side. And to be honest, I'm still scratching my head how that is. It's everyone, no matter what party you're in, should be somewhat concerned that it isn't changing and it looks the same. With that being said, I did see a post that went viral. That was an album of photos with women and their title and what made them unique. Yep. And it was celebrating, this was the first woman voted in this district, and this was the first Muslim in this, and it lists all this so great progress and representation. And then at the very end was a photo of a woman who was the first woman of something with a caption asterisk. She was a Republican, and I don't really agree with her, but we'll just give her a high five.
It was the first female governor of Tennessee.
Okay, so I was so excited. This is bipartisan. This is just about fairness and representation and equal opportunity. I was so excited, and then I got to the caption with the asterisk that said, "Oh, and one Republican. I guess we should clap."
No,
and I was so close to being so pure and so bipartisan, and then I just was like, why can't we just clap for each other?
Why indeed?
And
what like the crap? That is just.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't see it.
It was fairly viral.
When I did my reporting on the election on my blog and on my website, I talked about the governor from Tennessee because I was like, hell yeah. I mean, she's not really good on the gay. And she's not, I mean, there's a lot of social issues that she's not my friend on, but I honestly believe, and I will stick by this, the more we get more gender representation, more women of color in particular, more people of color in particular, the more we make that happen, the more likely it is that we are going to be able to come closer to the middle. She is a very far right person.
I wonder.
But we have to talk about her winning because that's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, my question is, are we applauding more gender representation, or are we applauding good changes on our side and not willing to applaud any progress on another? And so that's what got me is we're celebrating if you're over here and there's equality. But if you're over there, I don't care if there's more women or not over there. Well, I'm going to give you a 2 clap for that one.
Yeah, 2 claps. Like a golf clap. I think that's highly problematic, Amy, and I think you're making a really good point. And
there was also the first Korean, I wish I'd looked this up before today, but there was another Republican candidate, I think Korean descent of some kind that was
Hi, Stephanie!
So anyway.
Yeah, and there was also the first, I think she was Arab American, and it was a woman in Florida who won. But the other thing that was really awesome, not a woman, but for the first time ever in San Juan County, Utah,
Okay.
which is mostly Navajo.
Okay.
It's over by Four Corners. The first time there's been Navajo representation on the commission, and that race was fascinating because they actually intentionally left his name off the ballot, one of the people who was running, and he had to petition the Supreme Court to get his name back on the ballot. Yeah.
And won.
So there's 2 Navajo men and 1 white man now on the commission. There's a 3-member commission. So finally, the Navajo Nation has a majority on the commission, which is awesome.
Can you, now I'm with you 100%. Can you help articulate to anyone who's wanting to engage, why is representation important? Can you articulate, just give us a chunk, give us why it matters.
So why is representation important? So, and this is where I think you have felt sort of voiceless living in a mostly Democratic, a super majority Democratic state, right? So when we have representation that's not just white, heterosexual men, it ends up being the way that policies are introduced and addressed are much more directed at the majority of people when you have more voices at the table. So one of the things that research has shown is that especially when women hold office, they introduce policies that it doesn't matter what political party the woman is a part of, they introduce policies that are better for the community. But when men introduce policies, they introduce policies that benefit them first and then the community second. So it's the opposite. And they've done research on this all over the country. Hi, Meredith! All over the country where they have talked about how women legislate. It doesn't matter what level of government they're at. It doesn't matter if it's school board. It doesn't matter. We wouldn't know how it would be with the president, but someday I hope we do. All the way up. When women are in office, they tend to introduce legislation that's better for the entire community, no matter what the background of the community is.
What about faith, different faiths, representation? Why does that matter?
I really feel like if we had more diverse voices of faith in all over, like if like we talk about these Muslim women who won, the idea that these women are going to be like that, their foundation is what sort of guides them, right? The idea that they will be representing a different picture of religion, which is not Christian based, opens up to sort of the diversity of how we think about how policies impact other people.
Can I ask you a really random question?
Yeah.
So as a Christian, if you didn't know, I find it super great that when someone becomes president, out comes the Bible, put their hand on the Bible, and there's prayer. And I'm like, this is cool. This is weird. This is this last election, presidential election, I thought, pretty sure not everyone believes in what I believe. This is weird that this whole nation's president has this tradition.
Book of faith.
But it's the same one for every president, right?
No, they get to choose it.
Oh!
Yeah, they get to choose it.
So if it was a Mormon president, they could choose the
Book of Mormon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I was just
so when those women got sworn into Congress, they're going to have their hand on the Quran.
Oh.
And Mike Pence has to hold it.
Do you find some sweet?
I find a little bit of revenge in there because I'm naughty. Meredith Holly pointed out that there's an international study in Africa about when women lead, the more women that are, of course, in Africa, they actually elect women to office, to the highest levels of office, even their presidency.
I don't know if it's
Africa.
I don't know if it's come up, but I go to Rwanda every year. I'm actually planning our trip for 2019 right now. But
so cool.
Yeah, and Rwanda has a majority of women in political leadership, and it's something that they really brag about because it makes them better, they say, than America, at least as far as representation.
It does. It's really awesome. And the other thing in Africa, and the African continent, if you don't know, in Liberia, there's a really great movie called Pray the Devil Back to Hell. And it's all about this group of women who are social workers, actually, who, to protest the ongoing war, their sons were dying and they were tired of it. They were sick of the men getting them involved in war over and over and over again in these civil wars and these skirmishes. They did these mass protests where they would go out into the street and block the streets. All these women would create barriers to the men to march to fight. And then they stopped having sex with their husbands until they stopped the war. And that was one action that they took. And it worked. Like they immediately, like the war, they were like, what is going on? And they would block like the entrances to buildings.
They were doing whatever they could.
They were doing whatever they could to stop the war. Yeah. Rwanda is such a good example, Meredith says. Yeah. And it's called Pray the Devil Back to Hell. And I will link it in the comments too, because that movie, if you haven't seen it, oh, it's glorious. I used to show my students that.
Fiction, documentary? What is
documentary.
It? Okay.
Oh God, it's so good.
Okay.
But there's this idea that women can engage in social action, and that's what really excites me about getting women more involved in conversations like this, because I feel like if we can find some commonality and some common ground from which to work, which you and I have done, I think, pretty well, we can really grow movements of women that don't necessarily have to be women who are exactly the same, that can start to help diversify the conversations, which I think is really what we want in this country.
You
really,
do.
I do.
You think deep down.
We, as in like women.
Deep down.
I think
there's
men
some
are
spicy
really
women
afraid of
out
that.
there.
I know. There's some spicy women.
I got.
Look, Liz says it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it?
Liz and I are going to your event on Sunday afternoon.
Oh, Liz, you're coming? That's so great. I'm so excited about my event on Sunday afternoon.
I'm excited to be
Fanning
your
the
student.
flames. I'm excited for you to be my student too. It's going to be super fun. It's been great.
Okay, midterm elections. What did
Yes.
you think? What were you processing? How did you feel?
Midterm elections, I felt fantastic.
Yeah?
I had just written a blog about what would happen. I have this image. I need someone who draws cartoons to help me with this. It's like this image of, I had a dream about it actually. The White House in a pencil drawing, not the White House, the Congress in a pencil drawing. And like these big giant hands come and swoop in and pull everybody out by their necks. So they're all like,
Pluck them out?
Pluck them out, whoop, whoop. And they send them to the side and they would replace them, not with party, but with gender. So to replace the men with women and the women with men.
Just
not by
swap.
Just to swap them out. And then like see what happens with
This is
policy
like,
making.
This is like your dream. Like
Yeah,
literal dreams,
literal
but
dream,
also
but
very
yeah.
much dreams.
So I thought, everybody's always reporting about how many women aren't holding office, right? Like we always hear about how many women aren't in Congress or aren't in the governorship. But what if I reversed it? And I did this on my blog. And I talked about how many men would be holding office if we reversed the numbers.
Yeah.
So I kind of switched it in my blog.
Yeah.
And it was like only like 17% of governors would be men. Only 17% of governors would be men. That would be like totally shocking, right? People would be like, what the crap just happened? So
I honestly, this is where we differ. I just want 50-50.
Yeah.
And I think we should aim for 50-50.
I don't think we differ. I think we should aim for 50-50 too.
You told me. You told me
I would like a little majority.
You told me at one point, just give us a few decades of women leading and see what we can do.
We've had the vote for 100 years. 100 years of women leading.
Just let women have it for that long,
Just
and then we
switch
can go equality. But right now, we don't want equality.
It's such a good revenge, though. Revenge of the matriarchy. Let's just have us all in. But I think it's really 100 women going to Congress. Like that's magic. That's never happened ever.
Yeah.
But I will say one of the things that I find to be really fascinating, Amy, and I don't know how you feel about this because you're kind of one of those voters that's not really, it's not one of those things that brings you joy and happiness and light.
Oh, voting?
Yeah.
I take it really it feels really
heavy.
In a good way,
yeah,
but it doesn't make it fun.
Yeah. Oh no, and see, I love it. Like
right.
I skip to the polls, and I love the polls, and I love the stickers, and I love all the magic. So it makes me feel joyful and happy and blissful. So one of the things I think is fascinating, and I'd love to hear your take on this, all of the recounts. So there are elections all over the country that aren't being decided because they're so close in margin that there's all of these things happening.
Yes. Why are you curious what I think?
Because you're the kind of voter that's like, I don't know about all this.
The recount?
I don't know if my vote matters. I don't know if it counts. You said that to me before. You said it on Facebook Live before.
Yes.
So
Yes.
But one of the things that I think it's a result of, this is what I want your opinion on, is we've had an apathetic voting electorate for forever.
What do you mean?
In the midterm elections, only 20 to 30% of eligible voters vote, and all of a sudden we have 70 to 80% of eligible voters voting.
Right now?
Yeah.
In Oregon?
All over.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Way to show up, friend.
So I think part of the problem is that county clerks aren't ready for people to actually vote.
Oh, they don't have the capacity.
Yeah.
Oh, and then they run into problems, have to recount.
And then all the people who say their vote doesn't count get mad because they're like, see, they had to recount.
I don't know if I felt like my vote hasn't counted. I feel like other people think my vote doesn't count.
Ooh. That's interesting.
I believe that I have a voice and it's worth hearing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think other people think, because I, especially with the presidential election, voted not Republican or Democrat. People said I threw away my vote, and they told me my vote didn't matter. And I would say, we will get stuck in this two-party system until we realize that every vote in the middle matters. But if we convince ourselves that doesn't matter, we're always going to be stuck. There's only two options. Yeah. So anyway, I feel like my vote counts. I feel like in Oregon, it didn't really matter how I voted. I think the majority was always going to swing a certain way. To be honest, what I did, this is nearly impossible, but the intent was so clear. I took the voting pamphlet and I covered up the names and the pictures and the political affiliation, which doesn't matter because when you read it, it's like
you can totally tell.
Ding,
right? Yeah.
But I tried to blind vote.
How'd it go?
You can't be blind.
Yeah.
They tailor to their party, and you can read it. It's plain as day.
It's totally true.
I'm curious, as you read the pamphlet, do endorsements sway you, or what's the word? Not rebuttals, but against, let's say, measures. Do you read those, and does it sway you, or do you already know what you think?
When I have to deal with ballot initiatives, it does sway me a little bit, but I voted no on all of the ballot measures this year in Oregon because I hated every single one of them, including the housing one, because that's how I roll.
Well,
even though all the liberals and the AARP and the ACLU and everybody else was like, this is the most important thing ever, I was like, constitutional amendments are a no-no.
Yes, you had mentioned this last time that you are against really amending and against measures where I'm
against measures where we as taxpayers, like I would like to see the Equal Rights Amendment passed, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But these measures where we as members of the state voting electorate amend the Constitution for tax issues are highly problematic to me on a number of levels.
Yeah, your idea, let me get this straight, is that we elect officials who should make those educated decisions.
Absolutely.
And that we're not necessarily educated enough.
Yes. And if you don't like it, then talk to your elected officials about why you don't like it.
Yeah.
Tell them why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having a moment where I realized I didn't really follow up to see where the measures landed.
Oh.
I really don't know what passed or didn't pass.
The first one passed, all the rest of them failed.
What was the first one?
The housing one. The housing one that I voted against. Liz looks at the money too, where the money comes from. That's genius, because you never know where the money comes from. Although I'm really good at raising money for political organizations, so there's that.
So that's a really good idea. Dr. Melissa Bird.
Oh yeah, you can look that up. That's all public record.
PAC
money is all public record.
Yeah.
So if you donate to candidates or PACs donate to candidates, you can look it all up online.
Do you know what the margin was for the Rourke, whatever his name is, versus Cruz? Do you know how much Cruz won by?
Not much.
In Texas?
Not much.
Yeah, that was an interesting race.
It was super close.
Yeah, that happening in Texas, I think, was substantial.
I was a big fan of that race.
Yeah.
I liked that race. What I really loved was, and you and I talked about this too, was all of the focus being put on like Jen Hatmaker's women and all these conservative Christian women who are kind of like, I don't know about this guy.
The Cruz guy?
The Cruz guy, and how they were like, Ted Cruz is not representing our values.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting.
Yeah.
I have a random question for you that just came to my head just now.
Those are the most dangerous.
What is, you and I have been doing this for a couple months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of months.
And these are the conversations that actually get the most play on my Facebook page, which is kind of awesome and amazing, and I love it. What is the one, and you've tried to stop these a couple times, but you keep, but the universe intervenes and God's like, no, do it again.
I'm so curious what you're going to say next.
What is top thing you get out of these conversations?
Oh,
And why do you think other people who watch this should try and model these same kinds of conversations in their own worlds?
what have I gotten out of it? I am a better thinker through things because I'm not quick to judge anymore. I will sit and I will get curious instead of going, this is what I think, moving on. Like I think a byproduct, well, there's a lot of byproducts actually, but I would say one of the byproducts is I just don't engage with agenda anymore. And it's been only in practice that I truly can say that.
Wow.
But through practicing this, I just don't, I'm not proving anything. I have no agenda. So there's one byproduct.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, I have more. I think my views on feminism has changed.
Hi, Becca.
I think my views on abortion has changed. My beliefs hasn't, but my views and understanding where other people are coming from and greater empathy came from our interaction. So there's a lot of things. Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of things. What about you?
The number one biggest thing that has come from this is I'm more willing to admit that I am a Christian and that I am Episcopal publicly.
What kept you from that before?
Because the idea that all Christian people are bad, because all Christian people want the opposite of progressive things, I don't think is true. And it's sort of, my interactions with you have helped me sort of embrace what I want to get out of my faith more, and have also stopped me from judging all Christian people as falling into that camp of the opposite of what I believe and what I feel.
Okay, this is making me curious.
Plus, my favorite part about Amy being in my life is when I get angry online, she's like, girl, what are you doing? Calm down. It's going to be okay.
I do.
Are you really sure you should
like
be saying things like that? Yeah.
Right?
Look, we're getting lots of hearts.
Yeah.
Yay. Thanks, Amanda.
The faith one has been risky for you.
Oh, yeah. It's huge.
You said my hardest closet to come out of was not the bisexual one.
Yeah, no, it's not being
one.
LGBT. That one's easy.
It's the
The faith one. My faith closet.
Do you feel judged?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of people in the progressive community that have gone from being people of faith to the exact opposite, like to almost bashing faith, which is fine. But I have really tried to figure out how to find comfort in those spaces, and it's really interesting. And I think that it's why I want to keep doing this and modeling this, and I hope other people go out and do this in their communities and with their neighbors and their friends. Like the nuance of stuff that you and I talk about, I think it's so important for other people to be doing that too and talking about that too. I just hope other people go out and do this. That I think is really my
Can you
thing.
imagine, golly, I just think things would be different if, okay, because it's a choice. I had a choice when I saw on Facebook for the first time, oh crap, Missy and I do not believe the same things. I mean, just loud pussy hat, and I'm like, oh gosh. And I had a choice.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not going to be friends.
Yeah, you did.
Or, I still really like you. Let's meet for lunch.
Let's try this.
And so I just wonder if more people stopped avoiding, but chose in the right place in their heart to go, I'm going to take this person out to lunch.
Oh, I like it.
I'm going to have coffee with this person.
Yes.
Or I'm going to read the blog of a person that I have nothing in common with so I can understand them better. Like, I think it can be slow, and I don't think it has to be this.
Yeah.
But I think you start to read different things, and you start to watch the news differently as you're less quick to get defensive. And then you find a safe person, which I think can be hard. But then
when you find the safe person, you can have these great talks.
Yeah, and I'm such a better person for it.
And drink Diet Dr. Pepper. And, like, I'm a much better person for having you in my world.
Really?
Oh, yes.
I'm so glad. Vice versa.
Totally.
I'm so glad it's not one-sided. I feel the
exact same. It's so good. It's magic.
You guys like this love fest?
We're so happy. Happening. Like Becca says, that's powerful. Sometimes I struggle with feeling that identifying as a Christian is the more immoral choice. How sad is that? Thanks for being honest about this. It is.
Man, this is an interesting conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there are if those of you are watching or watch later that are part of a certain faith community that you feel like is misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
I would love this to be a space for you to kind of process that.
Yeah, I would love to see what people say when they watch this later on, what they have to say
I have a question
about
for you. Is the
coming out of the Christian closet as a progressive liberal.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
That'd be interesting.
Is the witchiness?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what words you guys use. Is that considered faith or no? Is that a faith?
It
belief?
depends on if you identify as Wiccan, which is a faith.
Okay, that's the word.
Mm-hmm.
Not witchiness.
But I'm not Wiccan.
Okay.
Mm-mm. That's
okay.
It's not what I am.
So you could be a witch but not Wiccan.
Yes.
Okay. Could
you just like
understand
let
that?
me just tell you one of the things. I love that you said this because we were at church and we were introducing ourselves to the newcomers for lunch. It was a free lunch, so that's of course why I
I
went.
love church free lunch.
I know, me
As
too.
long as people wear gloves when they serve the food.
You're hilarious.
Anyway, you were
So everyone was like, Sean was there and Katie was there and Jim was there, but Gwen wasn't there because Gwen refuses to go to church because she literally says, if I walk in that sanctuary, I'm going to be set on fire and I'm not going in there. And I was like, wow, that's a powerful statement. Okay. We made her go for a little while, but she doesn't like it. So I was like, and we have a daughter, Gwen. Jim mentioned Gwen when he introduced himself. And I said, but she's pagan, so she doesn't come to church. And everyone in the room was like, including Father Simon. He was like, this is awkward. And I was like, why can't we just admit that Gwen is like not having it? And she has self-identified herself as someone who believes in using nature to heal and in being a vegetarian. She's got all these little things about how she's identifying her own paganness. And I'm like, whatever. Go do your thing. Witchcraft is really interesting to me because I feel like there's part of the upswelling of the matriarchy and the push against the patriarchy is this rising of witches. And I don't know if there's more rising of witches now because there's a bunch of writing and stuff, if I'm just seeing it more, or what that is. So anyway,
there's really good comments. I'm so sorry for not getting to them.
I constantly feel out of place being so liberal, surrounded by Christians, like the two are mutually exclusive. Exactly.
Wait.
Hi, Samantha.
Liberal, surrounded by Christians, like they can't.
Like the two are mutually exclusive.
Liz feels the same too.
Yeah, I feel judged being progressive and liberal as a Christian in my social circles. Yes. So and then yes.
Man, there's nuance. There's so much nuance. Permission. And I feel like
Becca wants to do it. Becca wants to be a guest on Fuck Shit Up Friday and do this. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome.
We'll make that happen.
You got to bring this with you because it warms her up. She will. Really loves that.
Samantha agrees with that. There is a rising of witches. Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Okay, so I was in Austin.
Oh my God, we've totally peeled back the layers on this one. Everyone's like, yes.
Okay, so I was doing a podcast with a very conservative Christian woman in Austin, Texas, Jamie Ivey. Her podcast is called The Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey. Really wonderful woman.
Yep.
So relatable.
Awesome.
So wonderful. And somehow I got to be on her podcast. It airs.
Because you're awesome.
It airs in December. But she said, I brought up this because this is just giving me life. And so I brought it up and I talked a lot about it. And she said, I think this is the first time that anyone on my podcast over 5 years has ever talked about witches. She's like, what does it mean? And I said, I don't know. And she's like, that's kind of crazy. I said, yeah. She goes, what do they believe? I said, that they can, now tell me if I'm right.
Okay.
You can bend what's happening in the world to the way you would want through special ability.
Yes. In the foofy woo-woo world, they call that manifestation.
You can manifest what you want by thinking hard enough. Is it thinking? Is it thought?
Sometimes, yeah. A spell is just a thought. A spell is just a thought.
It's not like dead raven birds and
No.
Do you buy like dry ice and like?
No.
That's such a terrible stereotype, isn't it?
Dry ice is cool. But here's the thing. So here's the thing that you're raising that is fantastically fabulous. And Becca prefers alcohol, but Becca, you have to remember it's noon. So Samantha actually is bringing up the exact point I was going to get to, is that witch trials were in Europe. 13 million. It's the largest mass execution of women in the history of the world. It was a massacre. 13 million women were killed in the witch trials in Europe. And what happens when you, and this goes back to my theory of keeping women separated. it was the first time in history, the witch trials were the first time in history that women were kept apart. Women were always together, whether they were Christian or not. Christian women would go to the healers, which were witches, for midwifery, for herbs, for healing, midwifery.
I don't know.
It's midwifery. Healing, you call it midwifery?
I don't know. Wifery? I've just never heard that.
Wifery.
Anyway.
So, but what happened, the way that the church, the Catholic Church, was able to rise was to split women apart. And my theory is that women were going to burn in hell or they were going to burn at the stake, but either way they were going to burn. So they figured if they turned their sisters in, they would save their soul. And so the deep rift is actually is really and men are in that number. Yes, Samantha. The deep rift is why we misunderstand. They also, it was the first time they demonized witches. So that was when witches all of a sudden were known as the hags with the wart on their nose, stirring a cauldron and being evil, right?
Yes, right.
And so, but witchcraft and is very individual, especially now, because there are covens, but
those are groups of witches that practice together. Okay.
But there is this upswelling of many of us who are like, well, I think I have these powers to do these things.
How do you
have
know?
The ability. You just know. It's so hard to explain. That's a whole nother, that is not, I don't even know if I can explain that on Facebook Live. But there's like this thing, this knowing that, I'm correct. Oh, yay. Thanks, Liz.
Wifery.
Wifery. That there is this knowing that you can manifest things happening if you want them to. But it's very hard to explain, and it's a practice.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
If I were to scoff at that, I would be a hypocrite, because my faith in God, and I've been reading my Bible more lately, and it's more alive than it's ever been. Like last 2 mornings, my mind has been blown, and I'm on Genesis chapter 2. And I've read the Bible my whole life.
Right.
So something's happening, and I'm just curious. I'm like, I've never caught that before, and and this is a mystery. And anyway, so I was reading it, and what I'm embracing is that there are supernatural things that you cannot explain.
Mm-hmm.
And some people have a really hard time with that in the Bible and believing this God that did these crazy miracles because it's supernatural and it's outside the realm that we can see.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be a hypocrite if I was like, you are weird, because I believe in weird things too.
But there's lots of different kinds of witches too. So there's like garden witches that all they do is do herbs, and they do all the healing, and they do all the things with flowers and herbs and all those things.
Like applications with?
Yeah, like, like oils.
Oh, yeah,
like, doTERRA, like all that. Like
doTERRA is made by witches?
No, but
that's how rumors get started.
No, that is how rumors get started. You literally just know, Samantha says, yeah, exactly. So, but like essential oils and all of those things, that's ancient herbal stuff that women have been doing forever.
Yeah.
There's a reason there were midwives, and it's because they knew how to birth babies, but most of them were witches. And so you have the people who bring life from the earth and from the body. And so like, it's so a lot.
Yeah, this is
and then and then when I identify as a Christian witch, boy, everybody's like, what is going on?
I still don't know if I can wrap my head around that, but not my journey, yours.
That's right. Yeah.
And that, I have to tell you, a year ago, I don't know if I could have said that.
No, of course not.
But I have a belief in a God that provides the Holy Spirit. Now we're getting in weird vernacular. But he's called the Holy Spirit, and it's part of who God is. And he is actively stirring and inspiring and influencing and convicting. And I have learned as a Christian, I don't change people, and I don't convince people of things. God does. And so if you're wrong and you pursue God, he'll tell you. And if I assume you're wrong, who am I to judge? It is washing my hands of being judged and learning that I can be confident in my beliefs and share them without reservation while granting grace and love, that I am free.
So in saying that, I just figured out our next topic for Facebook Live, because there is a new there is a Supreme Court case that's coming up about religious freedom and the ability to discriminate against LGBT people and women based on your religious beliefs. And I think we should dig into that.
Oh, we're already at 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Unreal.
I know.
I think we should, because
all the time. Look, Samantha's like, powerful combo lady. That's right.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about that next time. Supreme Court. Can you
We're gonna get into the religious freedom stuff that's happening in the Department of Health and Human Services in the Supreme Court.
So I would like
some homework.
I would like to navigate that conversation.
Yeah.
Recognizing I think there's nuance in it.
Yeah, we're gonna navigate it with
I don't
nuance.
think it's black and white.
No.
I think there's a lot of hard nuance in it.
And that's
so
why
I'm looking forward to. We will not talk about it until then.
Nope.
We are always live,
Yeah.
hearing this for the first time, our thoughts. So
yeah, we don't plan any of this, clearly.
clearly.
The last thing I want to say before we go is that one of the other things that Megan Phelps Roper says at the very end of her talk is she said that when you engage in conversations like this, there are apparent enemies who become beloved friends, and that is what you are to me. So I love you.
I'm almost crying, but then I'm
too
too happy.
My makeup's so amazing. I love you too, sweetie pie. You're the best. Y'all, thanks for being with us. Love you so much. We'll see you on the Keith's like, sorry to dip, but heard it was great. Yeah, it was awesome. Watch it again. See you later. Bye.